In this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of August 26th. We got some Marvel Cosmic Spec topping the list. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another video with Swaggle. And in this video, we're taking a look at Go Collect's hottest comics for the week of August 26th. Now, for those who don't know, Go Collect puts out a weekly article that analyzes the hottest selling comic books based on movement and eBay sales data. And like I like to do on Mondays, let's take a look at the 5 books and see what's trending in the market. But before I get into the books, if you guys could drop me a like or comment or subscribe if you're enjoying the content, help support the channel, do one of those things, and I would appreciate it. All right, that said, of course, this article is written by Matt Tuck. I will put a link in the description if you guys want to do further reading, but let's jump right into it. We got some really interesting books and some Cosmic Spec at the very top of the list, but we'll talk about that in a second. But we can't get into that yet because I like to start at the bottom. So coming in at the number 5 slot, we have a very cool book. This is Micronauts #1, written by Bill Mantlo and drawn by Dave Cockrum. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is the first appearance of the team known as the Micronauts. And this is one of those kind of interesting books. Came out in 1979, kind of like I compare it to sort of, books like ROM and stuff, where they're in the Marvel universe. They're kind of a Hasbro toy line that had licensed Marvel to produce books, so they kind of sit in this weird space of like they're sort of in the world of the Marvel universe, but they're also kind of not quite in the world of the Marvel universe because they technically belong to Hasbro. This book right here, of course, is the first appearance of this team. They have relations to Chronopolis. They live kind of in that microverse, and they're kind of an interesting team. I mean, one that has never really like sort of popped off in a major way in the Marvel Comics space, but have their own sort of cult following amongst some comic book readers. And there's been a lot of speculation right now that there's going to be some kind of property developed by Hasbro or Paramount, maybe bringing the Micronauts to a movie or perhaps bringing them to a TV show. This is a toy line, of course, that I mentioned. Is owned by Hasbro, so a lot of people thinking that Hasbro is going to try to develop them in some kind of way. So this has been kind of a spec book that has been heating up in the market for quite some time, and this week here it's making its way onto the list. So as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are 9.8s selling fair market value around the $350 range or so, probably pushing that $400 range, if you were to find it on eBay. And then down here at the bottom, because it's a 1979 book, you're not going to see it slabbed at the low grade here, but typically when I go into eBay looking for this thing, raw copies I see selling around the $180, $90 range or so, depending on the grade and depending on the deal. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. The next book is actually going to be Iron Fist #15, written by Chris Claremont and drawn by Dave Cockrum. This is a book that came out in 1977, and what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually the final issue in the first Iron Fist solo series. Now, of course, Iron Fist came out in 1974 in the Marvel Premiere 15, and a year later he would get his own solo series that would go on to run about 15 issues or so, and this would be the culmination of that series right here, this one being written by Chris Claremont. And, a lot of people like the Iron Fist character. Of course, we had some version of the Iron Fist character, Danny Rand, in the Netflix, Defenders universe. A lot of people feeling like that show was the worst one of all of the Netflix shows. And for that reason, the values of a lot of Iron Fist keys have definitely tapered off. Well, a lot of people now speculating, because we've gotten, Kung Fu back into the mix, Iron Fist could possibly maybe be a cameo in the Shang-Chi universe. And, who knows? Like, this is a character that we feel like, if brought to the MCU, could absolutely be done right. So a lot of people flocking to, Iron Fist keys, and they're slowly starting to heat up. And this one right here also features the first appearance of a character known as Bushmaster. Bushmaster was a villain within context to the Netflix universe show. So, maybe people thinking that, hey, maybe they're going to redo that storyline and I better get my hands on this book, because when they do get Iron Fist into the MCU, these will be keys that slowly heat up. This is also, a crossover appearance of the X-Men. You can see them right there on the cover. So this technically, I believe, would be the first time that Iron Fist would meet the X-Men. Makes sense. It's a book written by Chris Claremont. So a lot of people liking those those X-Men keys right now and feeling like maybe this is a special issue to grab because it's the last one in the series and it's the first time that Iron Fist meets X-Men. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are 9.8 selling fair market value around the $575 range, probably pushing $600 now if you go into eBay. And then down here at the bottom, of course, this is a 1977 book, so not going to be too many slabs at the low grade, but typically speaking, when I go onto eBay looking for this thing, I can typically find this thing for around the $40, $50 range or so. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. The next book is a very, very cool one. Of course, I forgot to scroll past Iron Fist number 15, but here you see it's up 981 spots. But the number 3 book that we got to talk about now is Tales of Teen Titans number 44, up 989 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, there's quite a few things here. This is the first appearance of Dick Grayson as Nightwing. This is the origin of Deathstroke, and is also the first time that Jericho would take up the mantle of Jericho. And this is a very, very cool DC book. Of course, a lot of people know Dick Grayson as being the original Robin amongst the Batman and Robin duo. But here in 1984, they would change that under the writing of Marv Wolfman and drawings of George Perez and turn Robin, aka Dick Grayson, into the character known as Nightwing. And of course, Nightwing is like sort of his own superhero. I mean, I feel like this is probably one of those things that, DC felt was really important, because so long as they had Robin and they were trying to grow him as a character, he was always going to be sitting underneath the shadow of the Batman character because he was always Batman's sidekick. So I feel like for them rebranding him into Nightwing was probably a smart move in order to get Nightwing to be his own person, his own character, his own superhero. And this book would be the one that did it right here. And, when we look at the current comic books right now, people love Nightwing. I mean, Nightwing is one of the hottest books in the market, being written by James Tynion. Everybody talks about Nightwing as a comic book, and it makes sense because we know that on HBO Max we do have that Titan show going on right now, and they've actually been following sort of that Dick Grayson turning into Nightwing storyline. So a lot of people excited about this. Of course, a lot of people excited about Red Hood as well coming to that show. So that one has had a lot of influence on the DC comic books, and it's very cool to see that people are taking these properties that we're seeing in the market and having them kind of push the market in terms of the spec books and the values of these books here. Also, of course, there's the origin of Deathstroke. Deathstroke was teased at the end of the Zack Snyder Justice League film. So, who knows what that means for this character in the future. Will we get Deathstroke? I don't really know, but he's still a very cool character to the DC universe. And, maybe at some point there will be a, movie with him or TV with him sometime in the future. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are 9.8 selling fair market value around the $400 range. And of course, here at the bottom, because it's a 1984 book, you're not going to see it slab too often. But this is definitely a book that I see heating up in the market. When I go into eBay perusing this thing, I see copies selling around the $80, $90, $100 range or so. All right, let's go on now to the next book here. The next book is actually one of my favorites. This is Thor number 337, newsstand edition, up 990 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, you guys know this is the first appearance of Beta Ray Bill. This was a book, of course, written and drawn by Walt Simonson, came out in 1983. And this is a very, very cool book. I mean, Beta Ray Bill, I feel like, is the people's champ in the comic book collecting community. I feel like everybody likes Beta Ray Bill. I feel like if you say that you don't like Beta Ray Bill, you're going to be shunned by all the comic book collectors. For whatever reason, this is a character that everybody has to love. And I mean, he's a cool character and all. It's just really, really funny how I feel like everybody loves this character. And of course, Beta Ray Bill has been heavily spec'd on for quite some time. People think that he's going to be making an appearance in the next Thor movie. It's a very high chances for that, because there has been some acknowledgments from Taika Waititi that maybe we were going to see him. Of course, in Thor number 3, they had the Easter egg that he had his carving of the statue on the building, dedicated to him because perhaps he was fighting in that gladiator arena. So there's been reference to the fact that he exists within canon to the MCU, and people thinking that he's going to make his appearance in Thor number 4. Now, this is really interesting because this is the newsstand edition that is being hot this week as compared to the direct edition. Yet this is a book that came out in 1983. And if you had seen my video about newsstands versus directs, you would know that newsstands that came out pre 1986 or so are actually more prevalent than the direct editions, even though people make the argument that newsstands were handled more poorly, so therefore they're more rare. But this is one of those things where I don't believe this particular newsstand should command a higher value than its direct edition counterpart. But hey, people out there in the market think that newsstands are more valuable, so they're willing to pay a premium on those things, and this one right here is no exception. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are 9.8 selling fair market value around the $1,450 range or so. So definitely a pretty hefty penny for this book right here. And then down here at the bottom, of course, not going to see this book slabbed because it's a 1983 book at the lowest grade. But typically speaking, when you go into eBay looking for this thing, if you're trying to find the newsstand specifically, I see this thing being sold around the $120, $30, $40, $150 range or so, depending on the deal of the day. All right, let's go on now to the hottest book of the week. And this one is a really cool one. This is a very interesting spec. This, of course, is Marvel 2-in-1, number 61, up 991 spots. And what is the significance of this? Well, this is actually considered the first appearance of the character known as Her, aka Ayesha. This is a book that was written by Mark Gruenwald and drawn by George Perez. It came out in 1980. And you're thinking to yourself, who is Her and who is Ayesha? Well, Ayesha is actually the character from Guardians of the Galaxy 2. She was from the alien race that had the gold paint all over themselves, and she was the one that said, "I shall call him Adam." So this effectively is the character that is best represented of the one that we got in the James Gunn film, and this would be her first appearance book. And this is a really interesting one for that reason, because this has not been a hot book, but for the entirety of like the last few years when we've had that character in the market. But I see people now thinking to themselves, hey, we got that character. We're getting another Guardians of the Galaxy movie. We're probably going to get Adam Warlock. I mean, it only makes sense that, we would see that character again. And this is for that reason, this book here is getting actually pretty hot and a very, very cool one. I mean, really interesting what they did with that, that alien race, what James Gunn wants to do with that universe. A lot of people still speculating that we're going to get, Adam Warlock in some kind of way, because we know that the MCU is trying to build out its cosmic side of things. And, they might go the route of, the Ayesha character to continue to build on that mythos. And for that reason, this book here is getting really hot. And, as I was prepping for this video and kind of looking into things, the fact that I saw this written by Mark Gruenwald definitely got me excited. And if you've been watching my other videos, you know how much I value Mark Gruenwald storylines as far as MCU spec is concerned. So a very cool book to me, one that I do not have in my collection, but I definitely should pick up. And as we dig into the numbers here, we'll see that there are fair market value books selling around the $250 range here on the high end. And then of course, because this is a 1980 book, you're not going to see this thing slabbed. But typically when I go into eBay, this is a book that, is still not that expensive. You can find copies selling around the $10, $15, $20 range or so. Well, that is all I have for this video. Those are Go Collect's 5 hottest comics for the week of August 26th. Some very cool ones there. I always love seeing Beta Ray Bill on that list. I feel like it's been on the list a couple times before, at least in the time that I've been covering it. And that Marvel 2-in-1 is a very, very interesting one. I mean, I'm definitely going to be searching for that one myself next time I hit up my LCS. Anyways, let me know what you guys think. Do you guys have any of these books? Drop me a like, comment, subscribe if you're enjoying the content, and I will see you in the next one.